Tulsi Gabbard, who was mysteriously missing all day, is in the chamber and has voted present. Claire McCaskill, what does that mean?
That's just stupid.
I have a pulse. I can fog up a mirror.
I mean, what is the point? I don't know what this woman thinks she's accomplishing by that. I guess getting attention. We're talking about her, and we shouldn't spend any time talking about her.
Okay.
It's not frankly relevant to anything.
She's running for president as a Democrat.
One of the progressives in Congress, Representative Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, said that this wasn't a good idea. Here's her exact quote. Whenever we have a vote, we should vote yes and we should vote no. And voting present is a very tough position to be in. To not take a stand in a moment that is so consequential, I think, is quite difficult.
Hey, look, I'm done trying to figure out Tulsi Gabbard.
Yeah, I don't care about figuring her out.
Yeah, look, it was a hyper-partisan, okay? It says the Democrats have been hyper-partisan. Then the Republicans turn around and go, see, even a Democratic presidential candidate says the Democrats are hyper-partisan. Now, Tulsi, I think, said there was hyper-partisanship on both sides. Really? Both sides do it? After all this time, you're gonna come out with both sides do it and accuse the Democrats of being hyper-partisan? That is a Republican talking point. So I don't know what the hell she's thinking. I do know what she's doing. It is not remotely helpful, and most importantly, it's just not true.
So yeah, it doesn't look like the attacks are going to be letting up anytime soon on Tulsi Gabbard. But today I want to focus, you saw the clips earlier, and I also put those into a separate video. So today I want to focus on what did many Democrats, Maxine Waters, Nancy Pelosi, Jerry Nadler, and Chuck Schumer say years ago. Now, Jimmy Dore kind of covered this when he had Tulsi Gabbard on his program last, looking at Jerry Nadler, for example. I'm going to be looking at all the rest of them. We're going to hear what they all have to say about it, and we'll do a review after that. Now, I do want to say one thing, and that is, if anyone's caught on, if you noticed, I used an instrumental music in the clip at the beginning, and I used in a clip that I, put out on YouTube previous to this one. I'm going to put a link in the video description to the actual song, not the instrumental version, because I want people to look at the lyrics that are being used in the song. Very important. It's an old song called "For What It's Worth" by Buffalo Springfield. It came out long time ago. I think it may be even in the 60s. Okay, it was describing a lot of what was going on in the country back then. But I think for what we're starting to see now with the divide in the country, the attacks against Tulsi Gabbard, and all the culmination of what's going on in politics today, I think that song and its lyrics fit exactly what's going on right now very, very well. And so I would like everyone who watches the video to definitely go check out that song and read along in the lyrics. So with that being said, let's just jump straight into it.
So they have the information. They know the difference. They know that these allegations do not meet the test of the Constitution. They know that they're not impeachable offenses, but they press forward because it is really a coup d'etat where they are trying to do with this impeachment what they were unable to do at the ballot box. The American people should be outraged. The American people should let them know in no uncertain terms that we will not stand for it.
He knew quite properly that an impeachment of a president is an undoing of a national election. And one of the reasons we all feel so angry about what they are doing is that they are ripping from us, they are ripping asunder our votes. They are telling us that our votes don't count and that the election must be set aside.
They are driven by hatred. They hate Bill and Hillary Clinton so much they will stop at nothing to bring him down. Oh, but they got another thought coming. They thought that Bill Clinton was just going to fold up his tent and go home. Oh, but Hillary said, oh no. Oh no. Oh no. Let me tell you what Hillary said. the people's business. She said, Bill, I don't care what they say. You go out there, the polls show everywhere. The people like the work that you're doing. You go on out there and do the people's work, and I'll take care of you later.
When the bishop, and God, I said, the Lord, oh, you ain't hearing me, believe I'll go over here a while. And the Lord, and God is able. And God is able. And buddy,
thank you. Today, the Republican majority is not judging the president with fairness, but impeaching him with a vengeance. In the investigation of the president, fundamental principles which Americans hold dear, privacy, fairness, checks and balances, have been seriously violated. And why? Because we are here today because the Republicans in the House are paralyzed with hatred of President Clinton, and until the Republicans free themselves of this hatred, our country will suffer. I rise to oppose these unfair motions which call for the removal of the President of the United States from office, and in doing so wish to point out some differences between the investigation of the President and the investigation of Newt Gingrich. The first principle in our investigation of Newt Gingrich was that at the moment we found exculpatory information, it would be reported immediately to the accused and be made public. The independent counsel knew that the president was exonerated when Travelgate, Whitewater, and Filegate, and he held that information until the hearing, indeed until after the election. This was not fair. Indeed, it is the responsibility of any prosecutor to immediately release information that is exculpatory.
This is their president we are talking about. The President of the United States does not serve at the pleasure of the legislature, does not serve at the pleasure of Joe Biden, does not serve at the pleasure of Henry Hyde, does not serve at the pleasure of the Congress, as a prime minister does in a parliamentary system. He is elected directly by the people of the United States of America. And the election of a president is the only nationwide vote the American people will ever cast. And that's a big deal. The American people don't think that they have made a mistake by electing Bill Clinton, and we in Congress had better be very careful before we upset their decision, and make darn sure that we are able to convince them, if we decide to upset their decision, that our decision to impeach him was based upon principle and not politics.
Senator, do you believe that a trial will actually go forward?
Well, I hope a trial doesn't go forward, and I am starting from this moment on to explore every possible way to avoid
what began 25 years ago with Watergate as a solemn and necessary process to force a president to adhere to the rule of law has grown beyond our control, so that now we are routinely using criminal accusations and scandal to win the political battles and ideological differences we cannot settle at the ballot box. It has been used with reckless abandon by both parties, Democrats and Republicans. And we are now at a point where we risk, deeply risk, wounding the nation we all love.
If that doesn't just paint a clear picture of hypocrisy, I really don't know what does. So let's just take this down step by step here. What I seem to be gathering from a lot of people in the mainstream media, from a lot of pundits out there like TYT, all the people who are bashing Tulsi for not voting yes for impeachment and voting present, okay, which isn't a no, which is basically saying I'm not going to vote one way or the other because I think he did something wrong, but she says that she can't in good conscience vote, no on it either. So I haven't really heard the language come out of her mouth, but more or less she has admitted she thinks it's a partisan game here. But more or less, I think what Tulsi realizes is that there's a lot of hypocrisy going on here. And for some reason, I just don't think she's quite used that sort of language on the issue. I would like to see her use that sort of language on the issue, no doubt. But unfortunately, I just haven't, heard her actually use that sort of language. So that being said, I think that is definitely what's going on, right? Nonetheless, here's the deal. You just heard what all those Democrats had to say. They were pitching a message very similar to what you're hearing out of Tulsi Gabbard right now. Okay? So when Janky, this is all Republican talking points. 20 years ago, it was Democrat talking points, man. Okay? Now, you could come out and say, well, what Bill Clinton did, some sexual affairs and whatnot, blah, blah, blah. That ain't nothing compared to getting, trying to entice foreign interference to come in and intervene in our election process and everything else. Okay. Once again, there was no clear language in the transcript where he told Ukraine, you will do this or you will not get this in return. The only thing that they have brought forward in regards to that are hearsay, speculation, and what you can infer from what he did say. And do you have any idea how much of those three things would be accepted in a typical court of law? Not a single one. Every last one of them would be thrown out. So while you may say that the implication that what Trump did is far more, dangerous to the country as a whole than what Bill Clinton did, the difference is we didn't infer what Bill Clinton did. Okay, we didn't infer what Bill Clinton did. And Bill Clinton lied to Congress basically about what he did, okay, until the facts come out and shown that he lied. Trump said, we didn't hold them up for aid. We didn't say you will launch an investigation unless you want this aid, basically, right? Because if you don't, you're not going to get it and you can't meet. Trump claims he didn't do that, and guess what? That never happened. They got their meeting with President Trump. They got their foreign aid, and there's no investigation into Joe Biden. So it doesn't hold water the same way that the Clinton impeachment held water. Now, am I going to say that they should basically have impeached Bill Clinton over that? No. Matter of fact, what did the Democrats say should have been done to Bill Clinton? That they should censure him and move on. Jimmy Dore made this point the other day. That's exactly where the whole move on thing came from. Censure and move on. What does Tulsi Gabbard want to do to President Trump? Censure him. Now, I know everybody else is going to say, but he has done impeachable offenses. Okay, go after him for those. Go after him for those. You went after him on one of the only things that you possibly could have gone after Donald Trump on since he's taken office, that holds the least amount of water possible and would be thrown out of any other court in the land, and the Republicans have had a field day tearing this thing down. You've got CNN news anchors, in frantic mode, that support among Democrats has dropped by 10, 12% since this whole impeachment process started. Obviously, the Republican support was never that high in the first place, but Republican support went from 10 to 5 according to the CNN poll. I forget what independent dropped by, but it dropped. And I think that the CNN showed it went from somewhere in the 90s down to 77 or something like that, right? So even the Democrat support's dropped. Then you've got freaking Tubin over there on CNN. I don't believe that poll. There's just no way. There's just no way that poll is true. Oh, imagine that. Someone in the mainstream media coming out and talking about how polls are fake. Oh, God. Now, if people like me saying that polls are rigged, they'd be calling me a conspiracy theorist. But Mr. Analyst Tubin, what is his name? Jeffrey Tubin, I believe. I know his last name is Tubin. Over there on CNN. Oh, now all of a sudden when a poll doesn't say something that he wants to say, no, that poll can't be right. Nope. That poll's fake. Fake news. Fake news, people. That poll's fake news. Don't pay any attention. That poll's not real. Wow. So, this entire thing about how impeachment shouldn't be a partisan affair and all that. First of all, I will say this, okay? I agree impeachment shouldn't be a partisan affair, but we all know how politics operates in today's climate, okay? The way tribalism is with politics today, it's more than likely going to be a partisan affair, okay? However, okay, they were arguing that the same things Tulsi's saying today, and they're basically accusing her of being a Benedict Arnold. It doesn't matter if it's from the mainstream media, the pundits like TYT, the politicians themselves. They're all alienating her over taking a stand. And again, let's be clear, this whole, concept of, well, his problem is he's trying to invite interference into our elections. And you all have done such a great job of protecting our elections. You who have not passed any sort of ballot reform, we're still going to be operating on voting machines that it's been proven that 11-year-old children could hack into. So you're protecting our elections so well. On top of that, what else have you all really failed at doing as far as our elections are concerned? Oh, you aside from the ballot, you haven't protected our elections because you've all been taking money, lots of money, from foreign countries. So imagine this, okay? Tulsi Gabbard's come out and said that Donald Trump is Saudi Arabia's you-know-what, okay? Saudi Arabia gave money to Trump. They donated a whole lot of money to the Clinton Foundation, which is supposed to be a charity organization, yet Saudi Arabia is not exactly the most humanitarian of countries, are they? And so you're telling me that a country that doesn't have good women's rights, hacks journalists into pieces, they just gave that money to a humanitarian cause because all of a sudden Crown Prince woke up one day and said, I feel nice today. I feel like doing something great. There's such love in my heart. I want to do something for a good cause. Give a lot of money to the Clinton Foundation. I feel so happy. Oh, bullshit. If you believe that, I got oceanfront property in Arizona I want to sell you. To quote the old George Strait song, and if you buy it, I'll throw the Golden Gate in for free. Okay. Wow. So yeah, there's clear reason that they gave that money to Clinton to buy her off. The same way that, as I've exposed 2 days in a row now, the UAE has given money to the Clintons, and they gave money to Trump, Democrats and Republicans, trying to basically buy them off. They come from the Crown Prince of the UAE. So basically what you've been hearing them complain about has been already taking place, except in the instances where we have clear evidence that it is taking place. Mainstream media doesn't report on it. They don't talk about it. And why is that? Because the truth affects more than the people that they just want to sit around and complain about. The truth would affect both mainstream swamp, corporate hack Democrats and Republicans. And they would both be getting charged and kicked out of office and impeached. Okay? And those who aren't actively in office would be getting criminally charged like Hillary Clinton. And they don't want to expose that because then there would be outcry to charge these people and hold them accountable to the law. Okay? You hear the whole thing about fair in there, right? It's got to be fair. It's got to be fair. And you've even got Chuck Schumer in the 90s trying to stop the trial of Bill Clinton over in the Senate, right? He doesn't want that at all. But now he's pushing for this one to go forward. It's clear hypocrisy. It's clear hypocrisy, people. I really don't know how else to describe it. You know? So that's pretty much what is going on here. Okay? Nothing but hacky, partisan politics as always. And Tulsi Gabbard is the one person in the room that stood up and said, this is not what this is supposed to be about. Saying the same things Democrats were saying back in the late 90s when it behooved their party. But now that the shoe's on the other foot and they don't like Donald Trump, they're going to use those exact same tactics to try and do what Jerry Nadler called, removing a president. What would he say? A coup d'etat or something? This is basically trying to override the ballot box. That's what Nadler was saying back in the 90s for Clinton. Okay? I'll say it again. If you really want to do justice and you want to go after the crimes, go after the real crimes. Ooh, but just remember, that's probably going to kick a lot of you out of office, and that's why we're never going to see that happen, because more than likely, the people who are going to be overseeing such a process are the people who have been taking money from the UAE, from Saudi Arabia, from all these other places for so long. They're going to be the people guilty. So what you're asking are the crooks to investigate themselves. And that's why you're never going to see that happen. They're only going to use it when it's partisan politics. They're only going to use it when it behooves their political agenda. And this is the sort of thing that's never going to bring the country together. It's only going to create more division. And that's why Tulsi Gabbard is a true leader. A true leader doesn't falter for what may behoove her politically or financially or personally or whatever. She knows what's right. She knows what's wrong, and she will stand up for what's right, even if doing what's right comes with bigger consequences than doing what was wrong. That's the difference between her and all those other hacks on Capitol Hill. She will stand on principle. Just like Ron Paul in the Republican primaries years ago was speaking out against all this anti-war message and things like that, and keep our nose in our own business in a Republican field full of hawks coming off the Bush years, where all the Republicans were behind this new military interventionism style, and let's go give Iraq some freedom juice. We're going to go baptize the terrorists with a new baptism called waterboarding. That whole crap. So it took someone like Ron Paul to stand up there in the face of all those hawks and say, yeah, that's not what America is supposed to be about. That's not what America is about. And I want to take us back to what America should be about. Okay? That's a true leader. Tulsi Gabbard is a true leader. And then you've got all these people who claim to be progressives doing some of the most regressive stuff I've ever heard. Furthering mainstream media talking points, furthering the agendas of the corporate powers that only a couple years ago we heard them whining and complaining about. We heard them all talk about, oh, how these people, you can't trust them. They're bought and paid for. And yet now they're doing something clearly along partisan lines, and now they're out there kissing their butts up one cheek and down the other, cheering them on like, yeah, this should be done. What do you mean you're going to vote president? You need to get out there and vote yes. As if when someone, like what did AOC say? That basically there's no scenario out there where someone can say, okay, I see some points to the argument, but I believe the argument is flawed, and therefore, because I see points to it, I can't vote no. But because I believe your argument here is wrong, I also can't vote yes, so I'm stuck in the middle. What AOC is basically saying is that no, you should never be able to take that avenue. You either have to vote yes or you have to vote no. So basically, applying that logic, that's like saying you always have to vote Democrat or Republican. Because I see some points to this candidate, but I also have a lot of problems with that candidate. And meanwhile, I certainly can't vote for this candidate either. So I'm just supposed to take that one as a lesser of two evils. That's the same kind of, pretense, basically, that they set up as the argument for why you can't vote third party in this country. that you have to go with the lesser two evils. You can't take that road down the middle. You can't take that exit stage left. You have to go with this or this. You have to. That's what AOC's argument basically is. You can't say, okay, I think this is all a big shit show and I'm not going to participate in it. That's what AOC is basically saying. And that's what you've got people like TYT and whatnot furthering. And it seems to me that they're just because they have Trump derangement syndrome and want Trump out of office, as many people do in this country, also many people don't. You got to understand something here. The same people echoing that it was the people that put Bill Clinton in office, even though Hillary won that popular vote, the Electoral College is what elects the president. Trump campaigned smarter than Hillary Clinton. I'm sorry if you don't like that. That's just a fact. Hillary Clinton did not go to those states like Michigan and Wisconsin and Pennsylvania the way that Trump did to try and win those votes by giving them a message of somewhat of hope, talking about bringing back jobs. Let's remember, people, Pennsylvania was the home of the steel industry. Got wrecked. Got absolutely wrecked. Who was in Pennsylvania trying to win those votes? Donald Trump. Who was in Michigan talking about how that the auto industry had been shipping out more and more and more and more and more over time? Hillary or Trump? Trump. And he won. And he also won Wisconsin. Okay? And all those other states people were calling like Florida, North Carolina, maybe even Texas that would go to Hillary Clinton. She didn't win any of them. She didn't win a single one. I mean, really? So he ran the table on all those states that people thought were going to be such key and important. Okay? So I mean that's case in point right there, people. Donald Trump appealed to a lot of people, a lot of blue collar working people, and they elected him. Okay? So going off what the Democrats argued for Clinton, you're doing the same thing. Going off your argument from 20 years ago, you're basically saying you should be defeating him at the ballot box, not using this in a partisan way. There is no Republicans who voted for this, okay? The support for what you did went down the longer it went on. So that means there's less and less American people even behind it. So again, they're trying to pretend that all because we all know Trump is guilty of possibly that, but other things as well. Well, impeachment is impeachment, so we'll just take whatever we can get. The ends justify the means. No, they don't. No, they don't. That's like trying to prosecute someone in a court of law who's committed murder, but because everyone else in the courtroom has committed murder too, they don't want to prosecute him for murder. We're going to charge him with something, I don't know, shoplifting. We're going to charge him with shoplifting, and all the evidence is hearsay and circumstantial, and there's no evidence that he actually shoplifted. But because we know he committed murder, but everybody else in here's committed murder, we're not going to charge him with that, even though that's really why we're going for murder charge or murder penalty rather. We want him to get the big sentence here. We want him to get the maximum punishment, being impeachment. We're going to go for that end result. But we're not going to charge him with all that because, to be fair, we all have done the same thing, so we would have to be charged as well. So we won't charge him on that. We'll just charge him for something that doesn't hold water, like this shoplifting case. And then at the end of it, we expect the punishment to be the same as if he was convicted of murder. So the ends justify the means because he did commit murder. We're just not going to charge him with that. We're going to charge him with something weak. And we'll just say, okay, but you know he committed murder, so go for this and we'll get what we want out of it. I mean, am I the only one that sees just how crazy and stupid that entire idea is? The ends do not justify the means, you people. I get it. You want Donald Trump out of office. But people are looking through their Trump derangement syndrome glasses and thinking that Donald Trump is 1,000 times worse than half of all these other politicians that are currently sitting in an elected position. The only thing you're looking at is what mainstream media is telling you. You see all that trash he talks on Twitter, and so you think that because of that, he's far worse than the rest of them. But you're not paying attention to the fine details. You're not paying attention to the corruption that has affected his campaign in some areas, but has also been affecting all of his accusers in a lot of areas. People like Hillary Clinton. And we don't even know who the Democrat allies of hers that were receiving money from the UAE are. Who knows how many people they've been buying off? Right and left. Who knows? I don't know. If you know, hey, fill me in. Let me in on the secret. I want to know who else was getting money from the UAE as well. Okay? But we do know they were giving money because they've been indicted. And the mainstream media won't say one word about it. And so everyone else sits back and just says, oh yeah, it's whatever. It's just circumstantial. We'll get what we want out of it. So at the ends justify the means. And it is someone like Tulsi Gabbard saying, no, if you want to do this, do it the right way. If you want to do it the right way. That's what a true leader says. And sheep, mindless sheep, do exactly what mainstream media is doing. And all these other YouTubers out there, I'm not even going to go through the trouble of mentioning their names. I think you all know who they are, who are just playing along like, oh, how dare she? It gets Trump impeached. It gets Trump impeached. And further, for the record, what difference does it make? As if Tulsi Gabbard voting the way she did derailed the whole thing. You got what you wanted. You got what you wanted. All you people sitting around bitching and complaining that she voted present are the same people, as you even heard, by the way, in the TYT clip. She has no chance to become president, so you're not worried about her being the president or basically the face of the Democrat Party. You're not worried about that, according to you. She's got no chance of that. She's wasting everyone's time. Okay, and she wasn't a deciding vote in whether or not the articles passed. So why are you complaining about her and her only? Did any of you catch that there were actual Democrats who voted no on those articles of impeachment? Did you pay attention to that part? Did you catch that little fact in there that they voted no? We won't support impeachment against Donald Trump. We won't support these articles of impeachment. So why aren't you saying that about them? Oh, and again, their votes didn't derail it either. It still passed. Still passed. Yet you're spending all your time griping and grumbling about Tulsi Gabbard saying, I can't vote no, but I believe this is too flawed to vote yes. Yet meanwhile, there's Democrats who voted no and one even became a Republican, and you're silent as a mouse on that one. Oh boy. And if you say anything about it, because I'm sure I'll play devil's advocate and say there might even be clips. I haven't seen them, but if there are clips out there where TYT and mainstream media and all that's talked about it, I wonder how much time they spent talking about that as compared to Tulsi Gabbard. Because I would be willing to wager it's a fraction of the time that they spent complaining about Tulsi Gabbard. That tells me all that stuff about, oh, she has no chance, and that. She doesn't fit your narrative. She stands up and has the guts to do what's right, and all you people don't like it. And you do view her as some sort of a threat. You view her as the threat that might actually stand on principle and try and unite everyone together, not just the people, that always agree with you.